The growing calls across the nation to defund the police.
To end policing as we know it.
Off the charts violence in New York City. 11 people shot in just 8 hours on Sunday.
This is about the police officers who every single day put on that uniform and they run towards danger when we run away from it.
Guns up! And giddy up, everybody. Welcome to the Failure to Stop podcast, the #1 show where law enforcement meets culture. And boy, do we have a show for you today. Fridays are our breakdown days. That's where we break down cases live on our YouTube channel at 11 a.m. Eastern time. You are watching, many of you. Someone even says that they are live from Highway 400 in Atlanta. Please put the phone down, sir. Don't text and drive and die listening to Failure to Stop podcast, but we are live every Friday at 11 a.m. And then wherever your ear holes listen to podcasts after that, we will be there. But every Friday we break down cases that are relevant, to now or sometime in the past. And today, Tansey is going to be sharing with us what we know about Hunter Biden's laptop. Not the speculation, not the media talking head stuff, what we know as established fact about the Hunter Biden laptop. So I'm trying to keep it, neutral. I want to make some jokes already. I'm going to keep it neutral because we want people to understand that this isn't a political show. This is a true crime podcast. And we're really talking about, is there any criminal activity that's pointed to on this thing? What do we know for sure? So we're going to break that all down, but we've got some housekeeping items to hit you guys with. So give us a few minutes here to make sure that we connect with you guys as the audience before we dive in to the breakdown. We've got plenty of time, so stick around. Okay. Grab yourself a beverage. If you don't like getting, that first little bit of bread before you get to the meat of the sandwich, you go take a break, come back in 7 or 8 minutes. We'll be here. All right. Dude, you're hitting the seltzer already? I'm still on coffee, bro.
No.
Dang. You're going hard today. Hard AF, baby. All right. First of all, how can you support the show? We thank you for listening. How can you support us? A few ways. Number one is you can go to failuretostop.com. You can pick yourself a t-shirt. Eric and I are wearing a couple of our podcast shirts. I don't know which of these is still available. We just relaunched the store. So you can check that out, grab yourself some merch and say thanks for putting out the content. We appreciate it. We do 4 shows a week, by the way. So check those out. And that's option number 1. Option number 2 is if you are a viewer on YouTube and you like to consume the content and interact in the live chat when we're doing the show, all that stuff. We have membership that includes perks like our Discord, and you get to tune in live when we're recording the shows that we don't do live streams on, but you get to see it live and interact in the chat. So there's a few perks so you can join the membership there. We appreciate that.
The link is in the description.
Link is in the description. Thank you, underpaid producer. Man, we're firing on all cylinders so far. And you can also subscribe to the show wherever you listen to it at. Doesn't matter whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, wherever. You can follow the show so that, what that means is that as soon as the episode is released, it downloads it automatically to your device. That's really good for us. It tells all of the podcast gods that you like the show, and that helps increase our rankings, which we hit top 200 in the world for true crime this week. So thank you to all of you. That's because of you guys working together with us. We put the content out, you support it, and we're a beautiful team, us and the Wolf Pack. So thank you very much. And then you can leave a rating and a review. All right. So ratings and reviews are huge. And we always read reviews every Friday because we want to acknowledge the fact that people took the time to write something about the show. Thank you, Craig Daleski, as always, for your continued support as well as super chat in the chat. We appreciate that. So let's take a look at the reviews as a thank you to what you guys are saying about the show. Tansey, you want to read the reviews?
Yeah, I was giving old Craig my air quotes. It's an inside joke. You have to be in the super duper valued member YouTube chat to get that inside joke. So if you're watching on YouTube and you watch me have an air quote orgasm, if you don't know, you don't know, and I just look like an idiot. This one's from Dusty. Daddy issues. Love the show. Makes me think about the times I spent growing up with my trans daddy at the skate park while sleeping in my ghost bed. There it is again, man. Every review that we do, somebody drops their sponsors in the reviews. Name another podcast. Name another one, overpay producer.
Good job. Yeah, try. Go look at Ben Shapiro's reviews. You see them talking about his sponsors? Nope.
Damn.
Ben Shapiro sucks. We hope he gets him on the show sometime.
He's so handsome, though.
He's really smart. He would obliterate both of us in any type of oral argument.
He's way smart.
Wicked fast talker, too. This is the Ben Shapiro Show, and you are listening to Failure to Stop today. We're going to get into some reviews, and they will all include Ghost Bed. It's pretty good.
We need that camera zoom transition at that moment.
That was great.
Do it again.
This is Ben Shapiro. I'm recommending the Failure to Stop podcast today. To all of my loyal listeners, I would commend the show to you. They are intelligent, they are witty, and they are going to break down the Hunter Biden laptop case, which we all need to know about.
And
that's a lot more. That was a lot funnier if you're watching the YouTubes. That was a great super zoom. Tiny 109 BJ 4J. This show is off the rails between the best ad reads ever and all the amazing content. It rocks you to sleep like being on a ghost bed. What the fuck, man? God, dude. We need to be getting paid extra from
we need to
Ghost
make a music
Bed,
video for Ghost Bed.
It's ridiculous. Out of control.
What? This is awesome.
Double Yo says 5 stars for sure.
He just
is that like slam poetry?
Double, is that a haiku?
Like,
5 stars for
like 5 stars.
Yeah, his
like
it's probably my
doubles, yo.
Favorite review.
Like 5 stars for sure. Is that a haiku? Isn't it an 8-syllable thing, or is it?
No, 7.
Is it a 575?
I think so. Yeah.
I think.
I don't know. Whatever. I love it. He got right to the point. Appreciate it. Also this week, this just in, the box has been scanned for bomb material.
Don't show the.
Oh, sorry.
You're such an idiot.
I didn't know the. I didn't.
Who cares? Nobody's gonna go. No pedophile is gonna go.
Yes, they
Sarah
are.
Kelch's house.
I'm telling you.
Diddle all.
They're gonna
100
freeze frame that.
Sorry,
all
Sarah.
47 pounds of her. Disgusting.
All right.
Just
yeah.
So
Sarah
stupid.
survived the Holocaust. Not many people know that. All right. So we
Sarah, yay.
this has been scanned for bomb making material. It has been made safe. But I don't know the full contents.
It's a nice box. Caliber shipping box. Oh, a teddy bear. What does it say? St. Charles.
Let me first make sure. It says someone loves you in somebody in St. Charles, Missouri loves you.
Damn it.
Hold on.
I want somebody in like Santa Monica to love me.
Anthem.
I want somebody in Costa Rica. Something nice.
All right, but there's a note taped to the back.
Okay. Yeah, this looks like a true crime
Yeah.
case, actually. Like, this is what you find in the woods. That starts a true crime podcast. You can read it out loud. It's a podcast.
Okay, I'm trying. I was just making sure that this was appropriate. Hey, Mike, it's Sarah. Surprised? If so, I'm glad. Hope you are doing well. After all these years, I thought it was time to give you a little gift. To be honest, I was wanting to give you more than just the bear. Should I just end it there?
Shit.
That sounds titillating.
Kinky.
Titillating. All right.
I wanted to give you more than just the bear. I wanted to give you the whole thing.
I thought giving you just a stuffed animal seemed lame. I wanted to try and possibly get you a St. Charles PD patch, but sadly I had no luck. Anyway, well, she went to the PD, but she wasn't seen over the counter. No one knew she was there. She walked into St. Charles and was like, she was knocking on, it wasn't the glass.
Like, where are your
door,
parents?
They're like, it's the ghost
lost,
again.
girl?
It's those ghosts.
All right. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the bear. Thank you for all the laughs you've given me, and thank you for all the laughs to come in the future. Keep doing what you're doing. Your loyal fan, Sarah Kelch. #guns up, giddy up. Thank you,
Dude, I
Sarah.
bet you that bear was like, she went in there and asked for a patch. And you know how like everybody drops off those like teddy bears?
Yeah,
so that
did
if you
St.
go to a
Charles give you
domestic,
this
can hand
bear?
it to like the kids? They're like, hey, here's one of these bears that people keep dropping off to like give to domestic violence children.
Where do you get this? St.
Just
Charles,
take
nobody even
this.
knows where that's at. Is there a gift shop that somebody actually, like you go to the airport? Is there like an airport in St. Charles that does flights from like St. Charles to St. Louis? And there's
you
like
go
a,
through, like,
a
security to get an
duty-free
airport
shop there with
bear?
this? What
Like
is
the-
this? All right.
Oh.
Thank you so much. We are right under the wire. I said that we needed to see 12 minutes or less before we got into it, and we made it. We did it. So thank you for, guys. I mean, the reason we do this at the beginning of every show isn't, there's nothing about this that's like pat us on the back, or I know you're already on the show, so I'm not trying to convince you to listen to it because you're already here, but this is our way to say thank you to you guys, because you're taking time out of your busy schedules and lives to interact with us. And I think we want to honor that, and we want to respect that. We want you guys to know we appreciate it. So that's it. All right. Enough with the stupid feels. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, you know, between Facebook, Instagram, overpaid producer, underpaid producer, those of you who comment, like, share, I don't know another podcast that doesn't interact with its listeners as much as we do. I mean, we try to really keep up with what you guys are saying. We read, we might not be able to message back, but I definitely, and Mike and I definitely read and screenshot most messages between each other. And that's
yes.
a lot.
And
That's
by
an
the
all-day
way,
thing.
we came up with an idea while we were in our
yeah.
virtual green room today that we don't have a timeline on this, all that stuff. This is just, we are going to pick a review in the coming weeks. Again, no timeline, no commitment, other than the fact that we have the idea and we're going to execute on it. We're going to pick a review, and then we're going to actually put your review on a t-shirt and send it to you. So come out on these reviews on Apple Podcast, guns up, giddy up, can't stop, won't stop style. Lay it all on the line, folks, for an amazing review, and get your review turned into a t-shirt that is just given to you if we pick it as the winner.
The best way to do this, because we got like 1,500 reviews. If you've already done a review, or if you're afraid you're going to get lost in the weeds, screenshot your review, post it on Instagram stories, tag us in it. We'll reshare it regardless whether it wins or not. We'll reshare it, but that like keeps you in the loop and it keeps us seeing what you're doing. Maybe it'll help your odds.
Yeah,
to win.
Just because you've already done one doesn't mean
won't.
you're ineligible. It could be anybody. And this show, this breakdown is brought to you by GhostBed. So if you have found yourself in the market of needing a bed that doesn't suck, then check out GhostBed. And when you do, use the code DrinkinBros. I look like the meme guy, the blinking guy.
YouTube's on fire today.
If you're not watching on YouTube, you are truly missing a layer of the show. All right, use code DrinkinBros, DrinkinBros. And yes, even during the Memorial Day sale, they're already reducing the price for Memorial Day. You can save even more money by adding the code on top of it. Okay, so Drinkin' Bros, ghostbed.com/Drinkin' Bros, or use the code Drinkin' Bros when you check out. It will save you money. Listen, I don't have all of the details of GhostBed in front of me. It's awesome. Okay, I'm going to give you my review. It's freaking awesome. Okay, it came in a freaking box that was, I just cut it open and I stuck it on top. Hey, what up?
Just had some fans, had a group of fans come in. Where are you guys from? Maryland.
Maryland.
Holy
in the
shit.
studio?
What a drive.
That's not that
What a
child
drive.
killer, is it? Look out, Eric.
Hey, there's a hard AF in the fridge. You go help yourself, bud. Enjoy the show, man. Thanks for coming on. What was your name?
It's 11 in the morning.
What is it? Zach. The Zach at Zach. I met Zach before.
Zachinata coming to watch the Failure to Stop show.
So cool.
Zach sleeps on a ghost bed.
All right,
uses
we
the
ready
code
to do this
Drinkin'
thing?
Bros.
What did I miss? I was
Zach's sock.
being
I'm just talking
hospitable.
about Ghost Bed, and Zach popped by the studio, all the fun stuff. Listen,
Gotcha.
I know Sarah, who sent me this bear and wants to give me more than the bear, she bought a ghost bed. She wants to die on her ghost bed. I got a ghost bed. I'm buying a house, selling one, buying one, moving. Mrs. Mike the Cop said, hey, for this guest room that we're going to have, it has to be a ghost bed. I'm not kidding when I say it changed our freaking lives, because we actually sleep all night long. I used to have back pain. I used to wake up every single night, and that was on a relatively newer mattress. I'm telling you, Ghostbed is like literally giving me my life back because I'm actually sleeping at night and I wake up ready to go. It's awesome. That's all I'm going to say about it. It comes on time. It's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
And I got a Ghostbed pillow that I love. It's cool. It's cooler than the cooler side of the pillow. And it stays that way forever. Both sides. It's awesome.
I don't know what's cooler, a bed in the box like Ghostbed or Sarah Kelch in a box.
Little known fact, Sarah is actually the size of this bear.
What if she just jumped out of the bed? Just getting my food.
She shipped herself. Okay.
Studio now, bitches.
We've gone too far now. We're way too far. The Ghostbed ad read, I took it too far. A fan stopped by that's unexpected. And hey, if you're in Metro Detroit, you know what? I feel jealous. Can underpaid producer, can we pump this show to that TV out there somehow?
Give me
There's like
$100.
there's like 4 people. I know there's like 2 more on the way. They're sitting at the bar right now.
I want people to come here and hang out during the show.
We have like
Shooting
60
pool.
feet of.
That's
We'd
enough.
have to run.
Well, we can just tune into YouTube on there, right, and watch it live.
Yeah, but that's a 10-second delay.
Well, whatever. They come sit in here with me. Let's
You
go.
and
And
Mr.
now I'm
Mike.
jealous that Eric
All
has
right, here
people
we
coming
go.
into the studio.
Okay.
It's
All right.
fun.
Let's get into Hunter Biden's
you'll
laptop.
be here. You'll be here at the studio in the next month. So we'll pump it out and we'll make a big to do, and there'll be lots of people in here watching the show with you. So
Giddy up.
Giddy up. Well, before we do that, I have major computer malfunction right now. Jimmy, how do I get my notes back up?
Okay, make
Because
a
I
bill for
cannot do
that.
this show. Oh, you know what? Maybe it's right here. Shaboinkers or something. How does this work? All right, we'll
Is
just
that
do
your
this
news
way.
source?
Here we go.
Shaboinkers?
Yeah. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Let's get into the heart of the show. Go ahead and hit that timestamp, whatever it is. Put it down in the old YouTube chat so people know exactly where the show begins.
starts at 18 minutes.
Disinformation, misinformation, fake news, whatever you call it. Whose responsibility is it? Disinformation, misinformation. Whose responsibility is it to determine? Is it social media's responsibility? Is it the news' responsibility? For example, is it the state of Florida's responsibility? For those of you who don't know, if you go to a public school, the state that you live in decides what books are allowed to be in the state and which aren't in regards to public education. So, for example, my history books that were chosen by the state of Florida tell a story of Thanksgiving that I heard over and over again over the course of 15 years, that now, as I went on to continuing education after high school, maybe I learned wasn't exactly true. Maybe there was some misinformation about what I was taught all through high school that the state of Florida deemed was good information. For example, just talking about Thanksgiving, the New York Times had an article not too long ago titled "Everything You Learned About Thanksgiving is Wrong." And the article tells a whole different story than the story I was told growing up in Florida. The Smithsonian has an article titled "The Myths." The Smithsonian has an article titled "The Myths of the Thanksgiving Story and the Lasting Damage that it imbues." It tells the story of previous settlers bringing disease to America, and just the story is completely different. And when I was in school, I didn't learn about King Philip's war on the Indians that lasted 14 months in 1674 and 1675, killing lots and lots and lots of Indians. The story I grew up learning about Thanksgiving was that the Mayflower, Nina, Santa Maria landed on Plymouth Rock, and the Indians come out of the woods and they help the new settlers survive. And then they gently walk back into the woods and just let the English, kindly enter their
Thank you for coming to our land.
Yes. And then that's what it is. So my point being is, whose responsibility is it to decipher what is misinformation, disinformation, fact, fiction, or folklore? And what's great about the United States is that we can be taught this information, and then when we get to college, we can debate that information. And there's nothing wrong with me getting on this podcast and disputing or debating or having a discourse on what really happened on Thanksgiving. It's completely acceptable. We can talk about it with family members. I can tell my kids about what my personal beliefs on Thanksgiving are. I can choose to celebrate Thanksgiving, not choose. That's what's great about being an American citizen. You don't have that kind of luxury in a place like China. Matter of fact, the Chinese Olympics, this was a quote from Nancy Pelosi when our Americans were going over there to compete. She said, "As I wish the athletes well, I do not encourage them to speak out against the Chinese government because I fear for their safety." She went in to reiterate and sum this up on another news article. She said, "Why I said that they shouldn't speak out is because I genuinely fear for their safety." So it's great that we can debate these things. But again, my argument, and one thing I want you to keep in mind as we go through all of these articles today, is whose responsibility is it to decipher what is misinformation, what is fact, fiction, folklore? And we'll discuss that at the end.
Daddy government. That's who I trust.
Get play on the montage. Give us 1 second. This is all going back.
The Trump campaign is accusing Twitter and Facebook of censorship after the social media companies blocked the spread of an unverified story about former Vice President Joe Biden's son and a laptop allegedly full of his old emails.
Experts say it has all the hallmarks of information laundering. Eric O'Neill is a former FBI operative.
Who do you think is behind this?
Well, the Russians would be my number one guess. This looks like your classic disinformation campaign.
You know, a story is shady when Facebook is saying, whoa, 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 maybe people shouldn't see this.
For a long time, Giuliani has been openly working to dig up dirt and promote disinformation on the Bidens.
And as I and several of my former colleagues have pointed out publicly, that it does bear the hallmarks of Russian disinformation.
It's highly questionable and dubiously sourced, is part of a Russian disinformation campaign.
Also, the intelligence community has been saying repeatedly that Rudy Giuliani is the vehicle for Russian disinformation.
White House was warned that Rudy was the target of Russian intelligence operation to feed misinformation to Trump.
U.S. intelligence agencies believed that Rudy Giuliani was being worked over by Russian intelligence assets as a conduit to feed misinformation to the president of the United States.
Alex, there are fears that what Giuliani is now pushing here in the United States could actually be part of Russia's latest and very massive disinformation campaign in the U.S. presidential election.
The Trump.
And there you go. So everybody, and we made sure that was almost a minute and 30 long clip. And the reason why it's a minute and 30 seconds is because we wanted to get every news source to show you unbiasedly that every news source and how they were presenting this news. I want to talk about real quickly before we dive into this is that I'm coming at this unbiased. I don't have an agenda here. This isn't a right-wing podcast. This isn't a left-wing podcast. It's more of a true crime podcast. And we're going to break this down as we would of any of our true crimes, as we did the Breonna Taylor case, the Derek Chauvin case, the McDaniels case. But it's important to know the totality of what is going on in order for you to really have an honest and fair judgment about it. Why should we care in the first place? And for those of you who live under a rock, this all stems from October of 2020, 3 weeks before the big election between Trump and Joe Biden, where a laptop was discovered and there were some emails on this. And the only thing that made this story bigger than what it was that an unprecedented feat by social media, an unprecedented action to squash this particular news happened. And it happened for unexplainable reasons. Even to this day, Jack Dorsey regrets it. He's come out to say that he regrets what he did on social media because there wasn't really an excuse for it, or the excuses they used were actually kind of embarrassing excuses, that they felt the American public was too stupid to decide what was fake news and what was not fake news. And in this instance, the news was probably more real than not. We'll let you figure that out as we go through the facts of the case. But at the end of the day, the question would stand is, did it really matter? And should we really care about what another president's son is doing? Well, I would argue that some news outlets do think that it's important to know what a president's children is up to. This was an article titled "How Don Jr., Ivanka, and Eric Trump Have Profited Off Their Dad's Presidency." Another article from CNN Politics, "Plotting the Future. Trump kids even look to profit from their father's fallen legacy." And we could have literally just gone on and on about that. Also, we can talk about Hillary Rodham Clinton, her brother. That was big in the news back in the day. Neil Bush. There was lots of news about Neil Bush and his activities during the Bush administration. Billy Carter in the Carter administration. So every administration, there has always been this kind of a nepotism thing that's kind of been seen as, okay, nobody's really gotten in trouble for the nepotism. But I would say, I'd argue that only like two presidential candidates or actually presidents have had that actually abuse the nepotism. And I think you can find that in the Clinton scandals, and you can also find that here in the Biden scandals. But again, to know the totality of the circumstances, we've got to know the history. We got to know who and that's why I think that's important to know who the president's son is, because I think we as citizens like to know these kind of things, right? Like we want to know what's going on in people's lives. I think that's a natural thing. Would you not agree with me, Mike? On that?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's valid to, and I think it's fair to acknowledge that it's not like every political leader up to this point of our country has been like God's gift to integrity and no nepotism. No. And then it's just now all of a sudden, this is a twist with Joe Biden. Like we've been, I mean, we're part of the Drinkin' Bros network here at Tetherball. And that's, I mean, AIPAC is sort of like a flag that's flown where it's like, no, we're not one side or the other than the fact that we really want to get at the truth of things. And we really want to, because we think that's a way forward and we have to acknowledge it. So the fact that Trump's kids would have profited from him being in the presidency, that's okay with me. You know, like I don't have a problem acknowledging that. I don't have a problem acknowledging that Clinton's family benefited. I know that they did, right? I would probably venture to say that going back to, you know, I mean, the Bushes are sort of like the American royal family, that version, you know what I'm saying? Like when and
it's cool because in politics, there's just been this kind of like outlying acceptance of nepotism, right? It's almost like as if you worked at a local coffee shop and it was just kind of common practice that you could make yourself a latte if you wanted to and not have to pay. You could make yourself a little cup of coffee. It's not stealing. It's not right? There's probably a policy that says you can't do that, but everybody's kind of doing it. And nobody, the boss, the owners, nobody really seems to care. But then if you escalated that to 10 lattes a day or 2 lattes a day and taken $5 from the register, then you've abused that kind of that nepotism. And so as I did lots and lots of research on other presidents and what they were doing, I really only found 2 kind of forms of nepotism that really kind of overstepped the bounds of what was kind of seen as normal at the time. And this one probably being the more egregious of all of them. And I think it's important to know, you know, some people say like, who cares about Hunter Biden's laptop? And maybe you don't care, and that's okay. I served for a police chief whose son was arrested many, many times while she was the acting police chief in Raleigh. Last week, he was arrested for a DWI in Raleigh. Again, that's, you know, I think that might be his 4th arrest that I'm familiar with. And so I think that's important because I don't know that I would vote for a police chief if you were allowed to. And that's why I've always advocated for sheriffs because they're elected officials. I don't agree that city police are given by the city managers and the city mayors. But if they were to vote on a police chief, I do think that her son's criminal career or criminal activity, stealing cars, walking out on massive bar tabs, I don't know that I want that police chief in the city running the city if she can't really control the crime that her son already committed.
I agree 100%. And I wouldn't say that automatically, because I've known good parents with kids who've gone astray, you know, or whatever. But I would say that it is indicative that the leadership that you've shown in the most significant ways may not be, you know, best suited for leadership at bigger levels.
Right? It's a totality, right? It's that
it's a totality of the
with
circumstances for sure.
that coupled with other things that might be outliers that were indicators that you're not going to want to vote for that person. But anyway, I do think it's important to know the history of Hunter Biden, and frankly, it's important because I think people from the left probably don't know the real story of the Biden family, and the people from the right don't know the real story of the Biden family. Just like I would argue that the side of the right would not know the whole story of Donald Trump, and the left would not know the whole story of Donald Trump. And I think it was interesting while doing this research that it was fun for me to learn and to understand a little bit more, because then it helps me make a better and more honest and more fair judgment of what I see going on in the White House personally. So we'll dive into this. Again, this all stems from the October 2020, 3 weeks before the election. That's what is going to kind of be the catalyst for all these events. That's what this is all going to lead up to. And so if you say, who cares about Hunter Biden's laptop? If it was just the laptop on its face, maybe nobody would care. But if we look at the totality of the circumstances, if we look at the entire history, maybe that is the straw that broke the camel's back. And if you don't know the whole story, well, I'm going to tell it to you. Hunter Biden was born in 1970, and he was born 1 year and 1 day apart from his brother, Beau. So that's very similar to the circumstances I'm in now. I had my first child at 28. Joe Biden would have been 27 years old at this time, and he's had 2 kids at 27. I had 1 kid at 28, but I had my next kid at 29. So I'm only like a kind of a year behind
all
Joe
my
Biden
kids by 26.
We can tell. No, I'm just kidding. But his brother Beau and him were really close, just like my son Duke and August are within 1 year and 1 day. They're a little bit more than 1 year, 1 day, but it's 1 year and like a couple of months. So very similar. And I know how close my son August and Duke are. And then they're going to have their sister 2 years later, which is almost identical to when I had my third child, Elkin, and her name is Naomi. And so the family is really close. Now, in this time in 1970, Joe, being 27 years old, he just won a local election in New Castle County, Delaware. So he wins this election. It's a little county seat. And then 2 years later,
Delaware's tiny.
So now he's 27. At 29 years old, his only experience has been college as a law student. And then he runs for New Castle County, Delaware. And then 2 years later, he's going to run for state senator. There's 2 state senators in Delaware. He's going to run for one of them, which is a huge leap at 29 years old. It's a pretty big deal, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Joe runs on this pledge, which is pretty cool. That he's still kind of known for this to this day, but now it's more of like a joke than anything else. But he runs on this pledge that he is not going to take any stocks or bonds while he is in politics, which is awesome. And I'm totally for that. I've always said that politicians, the famous comedian Robin Williams, he said that that politicians should have to wear NASCAR jackets with all their stocks and bonds posted on their jacket so that you know who they're lobbying
who's
for.
Their corporate sponsor. Yeah.
Who's their corporate sponsor. So I'm fine with that. But now here's another part that you need to know. So he says that, but it's also Joe Biden's dad was the manager of a Chevrolet car dealership. And you know what I've said on the show about car dealers. Now, I'm not saying that all of them, but generally speaking, and I think we're allowed to generally speak on a podcast and in public with our friends. We do it all the time. It's okay. For some reason, some people like to think it's taboo, but it's not. Generally speaking, you're allowed to do that. Generally, I'm an idiot. Most of the time, I'm an idiot. That's a fair assessment. But generally speaking, a successful car salesman is probably not the most up and up character in the community. They're a little bit shady. They're a little bit shicey. They like to bend the rules. They like to play in that gray area. They like to push the bounds of what is ethical, what's morally correct, and what's not. And if you're not a super successful car dealership, a car salesman, and you're a car salesman, but you're not great at it, you're probably a decent person. But if you're a great car salesman, then I would question your integrity. I would question your ethics and your morals. I really would, generally speaking. You'd have to prove to me differently in this case. Yeah. So he's a salesman. He's raised by a salesman, his dad. But while he's running for this Senate seat in 1972, that's going to put Hunter Biden at 2 years old, and this is really, really important, is Joe he gets elected. He goes to Washington, D.C., and he is hiring his cabinet, right? He's putting all the people into place. He's now the senator. He's going to start hiring all of his staff positions and fill them up. So while he's there in November, his wife, Nelia, is back in Delaware, Christmas tree shopping with Naomi, Bo, and Joe. Hunter. So they're Christmas shopping. They buy a Christmas tree. They're all in the car together. They're waiting to get home, and they're going to wait for Joe to get back from Washington. He takes the Amtrak to and from Delaware, which is going to come later on in this story. It'll be important. But, the goal is to get the Christmas tree and have it ready so when Big Papa Joe comes back home, they can decorate the tree and really get into the Christmas spirit in this late November. This is after Thanksgiving, so this is like Black Friday-ish. Yeah. Well, they leave the Christmas tree lot and they're struck by a large truck. Nelia and Naomi at Hunter again being 2 and Bo being 4. Naomi is going to die and Nelia is going to die, and Hunter and Bo are going to go to the hospital with several injuries. Bo has a broken leg, several other broken bones. Hunter is 2 years old and Bo is about 4.
Gotcha. So I can relate to that. Like my brother and my mom was driving a car. This was 1982. So I would have been 6 years old, I think. And we were struck. It would have been head on, but my mom swerved by a drunk driver in the middle of the day, by the way. And we rolled through a ditch, and that left my mom paralyzed for the rest of her life. And so that definitely is something that was like a memorable experience that brought my brother and I together, maybe in ways that, I guess all brothers are probably close, but I like when I hear this, I'm like, yeah, kind of like that experience would stick with anybody, Yeah.
It would definitely stick. It's definitely going to stick with you forever. And we just posted a picture of the accident on the YouTubes. So they're in the hospital. Joe has just won the Senate election. His wife and his daughter are dead. I can't imagine that, right? I have 4 kids. I can't even fathom losing my baby girl at this point in time. Don't even want to think about it. So I can understand that Joe must be in over his head at this point. If we're going to think about it empathetically, he's maybe bitten off a little bit more than he can chew. He's 29. He's in politics. His wife, who was a high school teacher, they're completely innocent. He's got these grandiose ideas of being a politician and never taking stocks and bonds. Very great ideals and ideology there. And everything is kind of, now he's 29. He's a senator, a state senator, and his wife and daughter are dead and his 2 sons are in the hospital. Hunter is going to have a very severe head injury that's going to leave him in the hospital up through January. So nothing, not just like a bump on the head. This happens in very early December, and he is going to be in the hospital until January with this severe head injury. Matter of fact, when Joe Biden swears in on January 5th, boy, January is not a good date for the Biden family at all. But January 5th, he actually swears in at the hospital next to his 2 sons who are, if you look at these pictures, it's really sad. They're really fucked up. He's got pins and rods in his legs. He's got one leg stuck up. The other one's head's all wrapped up. And, I can't imagine. Plus you're dealing with your wife being dead. And I don't want to beat around the bush, but I think it's important to understand how traumatic this is. Hunter Biden's first memory.
I wonder if the Clintons sent that
waking up. Hunter Biden's first memory is waking up in the hospital next to Bo. Now, this is Hunter Biden's first memory. Waking up in the hospital, he looks over at Bo and he said that Bo just looked at me and said, "I love you. I love you. I love you." That's his first memory. And that's probably something that's not easy to carry on for life. It's always going to be a part of you.
Will you stop humanizing all these people that everybody's supposed to hate automatically?
Right. Yeah. How dare I humanize and I be a real journalist and give you the totality of the circumstances and only tell you the bad things. But I think it's interesting about
there's
the
definitely
head
some
injury.
people in the chat that showed up that are like leftists that started mocking us that are now going, well, oh crap, I guess I better stick around and hear the objective information.
Yeah. We're now new to true crime podcast, which is cool, right? Like, and we're already charting in true crime, which is great. But if you listen to true crime, if you're a real true crime enthusiast, we've all heard every single true crime podcast talk about the numerous studies of why killers kill or why aggressors aggress, sexual assaulters assault. And almost every single time they bring up a severe and traumatic head injury. And that's, I think they say like 23% of all serial killers have a well-defined, like memorable, well-documented head injury. And that's coming out of the University of Glasgow, put out that study. And as well as other things. So we know kind of the repercussions of a serious head injury. And Hunter Biden is going to have very bad head injury at a very early age. Unlike what Fox News would tell you, Hunter isn't just gifted and given the world. That's simply not true. If you watch Fox News will tell you that Hunter Biden never obtained a real job, or Hunter Biden didn't earn. Everything has been given to him. It's almost like a bad Parks and Rec episode when Leslie Knope is going through the election process and they're putting out these smear campaigns, but you know the truth because you're watching the show. And this isn't true. Actually, Hunter Biden, he grew up living with several people in the household. Aunts and uncles were in the household. No door was ever locked in the household. There was no privacy in the household. Hunter grows up. He becomes a valet. He works at a meatpacking plant. And up until this point, and this is going to be into 1987, putting Hunter at 17 years old. Up until this point, everything is almost normal aside from the loss of family. He's uninfluenced. They're not corrupted. The family doesn't appear to be corrupted. But in 1987, Joe runs for president. All right. So he's going to run in 1987 for president. A lot of people don't know this, but it gets squashed like within 2 months because this massive plagiarism thing comes out where he plagiarized an entire speech from a British leader of the opposition and labor leader, Neil Kinnock.
And it came out that he plagiarized in law school as well.
Yes,
right?
His academic records showed that that he plagiarized some of his academic record as well. Not plagiarize his academic record, but exaggerate it grossly. So now you're starting to see this kind of turn of like, I'll do anything that it takes to
I want to start out
political ladder.
I want to be pure. I want to keep my integrity. I don't want to take stocks and bonds. Fast forward 10 years in politics, 12 years in politics, and I'm a liar and a cheat.
But we can also put that into police terms. Most cops start out with these grandiose ideas of being great cops, of being real community leaders, where they're going in the community and working. And then after 10 or 12 years, the reality sets in and they get jaded. And then all of a sudden they're like, fuck these people. I would rather get promoted than do the right thing. And then they start playing the politics, the in-house politics game, where it's more important to climb the political ladder of the police department and make more money. When you really got into the job, not to make money, but to make a difference, then you're like, fuck the difference.
Sacrifices. Yeah.
Slow sacrifices. And so we can see this in police departments as well as politics. And that's why I've always said, I don't like politicians. That's why I was always fearful of ever putting in for promotions, because I never wanted to be this guy. I didn't want this to happen to me. And I know that this happens to all of them.
And there is,
and I'm not generally speaking, I'm telling you that this happens to all of them.
Literally an impossibility, right? That by the time you get to, certainly even in small town America, a police chief is a politician. Make no mistake about it.
Yes.
But and you already said it once, the show, the danger in that is that they're not an elected politician. That's the really dangerous part of all that. But anyway, that's I guess chiefs. Related, but
that should be our new shirt. Defund police chiefs.
Yeah, I'm in.
They don't need to get paid shit. because they're not really doing anything. They're just an arm of the city mayor and the city manager, and they have no concept of what's going on the streets around them. Yeah. But this is where that story begins to unravel. Bo gets into, at this time, Bo is going to be 20 years old. Hunter is 17. Bo gets elected and gets into University of Pennsylvania. Joe, Hunter, and Bo go to a football game at the University of Pennsylvania. By the way, Joe has remarried at this point to another woman who they all call Mom. And she's still married to Joe Biden, still to this day. So there's still a little happy family going on that front. But at this point, the three boys are at a football game, and some hecklers start heckling Joe about this plagiarism. And Hunter gets up and starts throwing fists. And Joe and Bo have to hold him back.
He's the bad
so Hunter
boy.
That's kind of like your first kind of indicator that, that is consistent with a head injury, right? Like loose cannon, like a lot of people that are loose cannons, head injuries,
injuries, steroids.
We've heard about this 1,000 times. We've seen all the new movies come out, talked about the seriousness of head injuries. So it's kind of like your first indicator that he's kind of flying off the handle, that he's not really thinking things through. Gets up, throws fists. It's a big deal in the town of Pennsylvania. Doesn't really go much further than that. Of course,
the town of
there's
Pennsylvania.
No social media. Yeah, the town of University of Pennsylvania. But there's no internet to make this like go widespread or anything. So it kind of just goes away. A couple of years later,
those
Hunter
were the days when you could get into some shit and not have the internet around.
Right. Which I'm for it, dude. Some people need to fucking talk shit, get hit, dude. I'm not bashing Hunter on this. I took Mike Tyson's side when he got up and pounded that little girl on the airplane. It was a boy, but acted like a little bitch. I'm all for it, dude. I'm all for it. You keep talking
charges
shit,
either. Yeah.
Fucking, you're going to get smacked in the mouth. Like, you can run your mouth beyond reason. You should get smacked in the mouth for it. I'm okay with that.
Best part about that was when, gosh, you're getting me on these tangents, but when
fine.
Mike Tyson actually is quoted as the guy saying, like, too many people open their mouths on the internet without getting punched in the face.
Yeah, that's the problem with
something along that lines. Yeah, like
the problem with society is people got
one
too
of his
comfortable.
quotes, and he lived by it.
He said the problem with society is that people have gotten too comfortable talking shit on the internet and not getting hit in the mouth for it, type deal. So, I'm fine with that.
Hunter got away without getting punched in the mouth, but he threw fisticuffs though in real life.
Yeah, he throws fisticuffs. Dad and Bo may or may not have been embarrassed. Who knows? But he goes to Georgetown University. He graduates in 1992. He volunteers as a Jesuit in Portland, Oregon. And this is kind of cool because, how does one become a Jesuit? Do you know what a Jesuit is?
Yeah, I went to a Jesuit university.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Are you able to explain? Are you able to explain what a Jesuit is or no?
It's the Society of Jesus. So it's within the Roman Catholic Church there, which I am not a Roman Catholic, but within the church there are different societies. There are schools of thoughts, and the Jesuits are a particular society, and they are known for their commitment to education and to some different theories about how to address and solve poverty. And so they have a particular approach, and they are definitely on the far left side of politics in terms of like social justice. But that's the basics. They're known for their commitment to education and to service of the poor. So that's part of the Society of Jesus or the Jesuits, like in a really brief sense. There's plenty more.
And the way that they, from Georgetown University, their definition of what a Jesuit is Jesuits are an apostolic religious community called the Society of Jesus. They are grounded in love for Christ and animated by the spiritual version of their founder, Saint Ignatius of Loyola. Ignatius of, is that Loyola? To help others and seek God in all things as members of a worldwide society with the Catholic Church. The Jesuits are committed to the service of faith and promotion of justice. So he goes to volunteer as a Jesuit, this educator of Jesus. And 3 months into this volunteership, he meets a girl named Kathleen Buell, whom he gets pregnant. So he's on this.
I love Jesus, and I love
journey.
tapping that ass.
Tapping that ass. Again, I'm not surprised, right? Not surprised. So his dad's been a politician literally since birth. His dad was sworn in when he was 2 years old in the hospital. So it's not like this should be a shock to anybody that this happens to him.
Yeah.
But again, we don't have these stories with the Bushes. We don't have these stories with, we do have these stories. I shouldn't say we don't have the stories, but they're not this outrageous. Okay. They're not like this bad. They're bad. Of course, like the Clintons partied, the Trumps partied, the Obama girls got caught partying. Like those are like, that's fine, right? Like we don't care about that. This is a little bit more than that though. So he's getting this girl pregnant. They end up getting married. In 1993, he graduates and then goes right back into Georgetown to pursue his law degree. He graduates in 96. He heads back to Delaware with his wife and his new daughter. At this time, Joe is running for re-election.
He married this chick.
He did. Yeah, he marries her. He marries her that summer. So that's good. That's noble, honorable. I'm for that. I don't have a problem with that. We all have our battles. We all have our journeys in life. And so not necessarily he made a bad decision probably by getting her pregnant at this time in his life, probably under circumstances. Probably could have made better choices, but he didn't. That's okay. We've all made bad choices. I get it. So he goes, he comes back to Delaware after graduating in 1996 with his law degree. Now in this, he admits later on in life that while he was going to Georgetown, he smoked, this is an exact quote, "I smoked Marlboro Reds, drank alcohol, and dabbled in cocaine." That's a quote from
Sounds
Hunter
like Johnny Depp.
You know, you do what you got to do. Live your best life, I guess. But when he gets back to Delaware, Joe is running for re-election. He appoints Hunter as his deputy campaign manager, as rerunning for Senate again.
Wait,
while he's
I missed the part where Hunter had campaign experience.
Right, he graduates in 96, and
So
literally later on in
Jesus,
1996,
the Society of Jesus knocks up a chick, not the virgin birth, gets married, and now is qualified
graduates law school. Well, he goes to Georgetown for 1 year for graduate school and then transfers over to Yale. Pretty fucking cool. Graduates from Yale with a law degree. So, I mean, you can't be. I don't think you could be a slouch to obtain a law degree from Yale. Like, I don't,
unless you got in on favors and you didn't get in on merit.
But,
I don't know.
You know, I still think like there's still some kind of work ethic that has to go into graduating from Yale. I would like to imagine, I'd like to believe that they're not just handing out fucking degrees at Yale. It's not like going to the University of Florida and getting a back scratch.
If we had Biden's NASCAR jacket, we might know. I don't know.
We might know. But at this time, Joe Biden is actually known as like the least paid senator and lives in the smallest house and has many people living under his roof. Like Hunter is there. Yeah. Bo is there. I think his aunt and uncle there. Jimmy, Joe's brothers, living there. So they're not like they're actually, you know, very blue collar. And it's still at this point, he's kind of known in the political arena as not having a lot of funds outside of being a politician. He hasn't been like sold out or bought out. So I totally respect Joe Biden at this point. I mean, as best as you can respect a politician. But while he's campaign managing, he also gets a job. This is where shit goes fucking sideways. And I start to lose my faith in Joe Biden. While his son is managing his thing. And look, Mike, if you were running for state senator, I'm pretty sure you would probably pick Elijah to run your campaign.
No, I'd pick you.
You'd be fucked.
You don't want me running anything.
You know, you would have Elijah.
I would not want Elijah to run my political campaign. I seriously would pick somebody like you.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
Jesus, that's weird. You know, Elijah does a lot of great things
because I want to get the trans community behind me.
The only reason I have this job though is because
everybody thinks I'm trans too. That's what sucks.
Well, I don't judge you.
People like I guess don't watch the show like send me messages about my bravery. It's so funny. And I literally think that they're serious. But while he's managing for his dad, he gets a job. Well, I don't think it's unreasonable to have your son run your campaign. I don't think that, I mean, you trust your son. That's kin, that's blood. You're able to talk to him in a certain way. You're able to discipline him in a certain way. I don't have a problem with him using his son to run his campaign. Fox News would like to use that
when he like makes a mistake. All right, turn around, son. Daddy's got to spank you now.
Well, no, but you could
it's
say
gonna hurt me
son,
more than it hurts you.
You could say like,
you will never say that again on my campaign.
If my son Duke was sitting where overpay producer is and something happened, or if with overpay producer today when he miscued the news article montage that we so diligently worked on, I would have told him if he was my son, I would have said, dude, you fucking retard. And I know that there's not going to be any backlash from that because it's my son. I can't say that overpay producer because I'll walk out and then I'll be
unless
fucked.
You're me and Mike does that to me. And I remember we had one conversation before and I was like, hey man, if I was a regular employee, you would not talk to me like that.
Exactly.
Or you wait 25 minutes and you bring it up as a
hypothetical. And I would never say that to Jimmy.
I would never say it to his face.
What I would say if it was anybody else.
I'll talk behind this camera though. But while he's managing his dad's campaign, which I don't have a problem with, maybe you do, maybe that's fine, but I don't. But while he's managing it, he gets a job at MBNA America, which becomes Bank of America, and it's a bank holding company based in Delaware, which is one of the largest donors to his father's campaign. So it's this massive
back home
bank,
in Delaware.
Back home in Delaware. So now, like, you graduate from college. I get it. This is normal nepotism, but it is nepotism. And we can kind of see how it works. And I'm not saying that Hunter is any different from the Trumps or anything else, but we'll call out the Trumps for doing it, but nobody wants to talk about the Bidens doing it. And we're going to talk about it because this is a show about the Bidens and not the Trumps. So he graduates in 96, automatically becomes a campaign manager. And while he's campaign managing, he gets this job as the fucking CEO of the largest donor to his father's campaign. At the age of 26, Hunter Biden is making six figures. He's making well over six figures. And he received a massive bonus, giving him more money than his dad had ever made at any juncture in his life, being in politics for the last, at this point, 20 something years. So, maybe the dad wasn't corrupt, but he allows his son to kind of
funnel the corruption
or be rewarded for being his son. And maybe at this point, 20 years in politics, you're like, the world owes me, man. I've been busting my ass. I've been reading, staying up super late, not spending the quality time that I should with my wife and kids.
You can justify anything.
You could justify anything. You could justify anything. So at this point, at 26 years old, Hunter Biden is making fuck tons of money and really getting a ride on these coattails of his father. Kind of like the police chief's son in Raleigh. In January 1998, the conservative reporter and columnist Byron York wrote in the American Spectator, quote, certainly lots of children of influential parents end up in very good jobs. But the Biden case is troubling. After all, this is a senator who for years has sermonized against what he says is corrupting influence of money and politics. So had he not been the car salesman and ran on this kind of grandiose idea of I'm never going to take money, it's now a big deal. Because if he was just like any other politician where all their kids were doing it, the Hines family, the Bush family, if nobody gave a shit because they never ever came out and spoke that they weren't going to do it. It'd be like me if I cheated on my wife right now. I think a lot of our fans, it would be a lot bigger deal because I preach so much about not cheating on my wife. So if I were to cheat on her, it'd be a really big fucking deal. And it would let a lot of people down, which is the only reason I don't cheat on my wife.
Because of the show.
Because of the show.
You'll put the show on
that money. But once the money's coming in and it's steady, I'm cheating on her. I'm doing it. I've always wanted to. I'm kidding. I would never cheat on my wife ever. I love my children and my life way too much. And my wife's way too hot. So unless she gets fat, then I might cheat on her. I'm kidding. Fuck.
Gotta leave yourself an out, dude.
Gotta leave yourself an out. 1998, Hunter ends up working for the Department of Commerce under the Clinton administration until the end of their administration. Then he comes on. He starts his own lobbyist firm with one of his dad's bestest buddies.
So Joe Biden starts out as an anti-lobby guy, and now his son Hunter starts his own lobby firm.
Yeah, with his dad's
of Joe Biden,
very close friend, like almost like a best friend.
Gotcha. I gotcha.
And then in 2006, he ends up getting a job by the Bush administration on the Amtrak board of directors. Again, so each one of these jobs, they don't last very long, and he's not overtly successful in these jobs. He leaves the Bank of America.
Right. There's no, what you're saying is there's no mark of, all right, Amtrak was, in the red and he took them from the red to the black in this, 18-month period or 2-year period or whatever it is. Like his tenure there on the board didn't see some sort of like marked improvement because of his efforts.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Zach, for getting me a hard as fuck peach seltzer to get me through this show. Yes, you're exactly right.
Okay.
And he leaves the Bank of America, I call it Bank of America, but back then it was MBNA America. But he leaves there, and this is his story. This is Hunter's story. He says he left there because he didn't like the over bureaucratic corporate mindset, and that he got in a dispute with a gentleman because he wasn't wearing his MBNA lapel pin on his suit. And he says, "Fuck you guys, I'm out. I'm gonna go work for the Clintons." And he leaves.
Okay.
He's pretty open about it. So now it's 2006. He's given this job by the Bush administration on the Amtrak board of directors.
Hold on a second.
Okay.
Did you say the Bush administration?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
So he works for the
gets
Clintons.
Interesting.
Then he leaves at the end of their administration, goes over to the Bush administration, and gets on with the Amtrak board of directors.
Gotcha.
Right.
All
APAC.
right.
All politicians.
So it's not just a left wing thing, and it's not just a right wing thing.
No.
You mean the Biden's son Hunter has worked in both Clinton and Bush administrations now as we kind of unfold this. Gotcha.
Yeah, not unnormal too. You're going to see like all these other big names too. Morgans, the Hineses, Heinz Field. All these guys are all going to be kind of interconnected. They're all going to be lobbying through China together. They're all got these like crazy dealings through China and Ukraine. And they have since this article pretty much starts in 1998, where they're starting to dabble in this Chinese. They're lobbying money from Chinese investors, taking that money over to Ukraine to convince Ukraine to get away from Russia, which is crazy because this is in 2000s, early 2000s, not the 2020s, early 2000s, that all of these people, not just the Bidens, but several different families are taking money from China investors, going to places like Ukraine, Romania, and trying to get them to be energy sufficient or energy protected from Russia. And that's going to come later on in life, but they're all doing it. It's not just the Bidens. Yeah. But I love this is that this was when they hired Hunter for this Amtrak job, which by the way, he's making a shit ton of money on these jobs. It says, when I found myself making the decision to have another, I'm sorry. That's the wrong quote. When he gets his job at Amtrak, they say that the leading factor of why he qualifies for the job is because nobody knows the trains better than the Bidens because they take Amtrak to and from DC regularly.
Nice.
I drive a fucking Dodge Ram truck.
You should be on the board of Dodge.
But if it overheated right now, I know nothing about it. If there was to be a malfunction in the airbags,
I wear pants. I should run Wrangler.
That to me just seems super silly.
I look around the room. I should be an eye doctor.
It's so funny to me that was like,
man, I've exercised. I should be a heart physician. Be a cardiologist.
So, it doesn't get better. It doesn't get better. So anyway, goes on to work there. But while he is working there, he then goes to work for so he works for the Department of Commerce under the Clintons. Then he goes to work on the Amtrak board for the Bushes. And then while Hunter is between Delaware and DC doing all this Amtrak shit, he quotes in one of his little biographies that when I found myself making a decision to have another drink or to just get on the train and go home, I knew I had a problem. This is in 2003. So now he's making big money. He's openly an alcoholic. He ends up bringing the girl, Kathleen, and his daughters to Washington. And And she tries to do this thing where like, hey, you're not going to drink for 30 days. He said I would go 30 days. And at the 31st day, I'd go out and fucking rage. I would get fucking shit-faced. So he checks himself into rehab. This is the first documentation that he goes to rehab. Is in 2003. And he's going to go to rehab like fucking 12 times after this.
Try to
So I've
make
lost
me
count.
go to rehab, but I
That's
say
right.
no.
So he's in rehab in 2003. He's doing this whole thing with Amtrak. He's starting to lobby out into some other deals. He's got lots. There's just too much. There's too much things that he's doing right now besides sitting on the board of Amtrak. I'm not even gonna go into it. If you want to read it detail for detail, the New Yorker, we'll put a link of it up. The New Yorker has a full fucking bio on it, and you can read it for days of all of the dealings. It's a lot. But in 2006, he buys a house for $1.6 million, but he has no savings in his bank. So he took a mortgage out for 110% of the purchase price. Is that wise? I don't know. I'm not a realtor. If you buy a house for 1.6 million and you have no savings, would you advise somebody to take a mortgage out for 100? Is that normal? I don't know. I'm asking.
Yeah, if I could get more commission.
So do a lot of people do that for 110% of the purchase price?
I mean, in this market, they do. In this market,
that's how you end up with a bubble.
They do. But that time frame that you're talking about was when all the garbage lending was happening anyway. They were giving away loans like they were freaking Snickers bars, you know?
Okay. So he gets on one of these Snicker bar loans. But later in 2006, Hunter and his uncle Jimmy, Joe's brother, they get into this $21 million. And this is where shit gets fucking real. They get into this $21 million deal by Paradigm, which is a hedge fund group that they lose big. They lose $1.3 million in 2 years on this fucking deal.
That's not bad.
Hunter describes it as a tragic comedy. A tragic comedy. It's a cool word. A tragicom. It's a real tragicom.
Better than Comic-Con.
Would you rather watch a rom-com or a tragicom?
Tragicom.
What else is a tragicom? 50 First Dates might be a tragicom. It's kind of a tragedy. That's a comedy. Okay.
Yeah.
I'd watch this tragicom. This looks
that's
more
a
like a
drama. That's a
fucking
drama.
train
I
wreck.
want to see Ryan Reynolds in a tragicom.
This is more like a Wolf of Wall Street type shit.
Deadpool's kind of a tragicom.
It is. Yep. So he gets into this crazy fucking deal. 2008, he starts another consulting firm. Now, I always thought consulting firms are ridiculous, especially when people ask me to consult and how much I would charge. It's kind of ridiculous. But he starts this consulting firm called Senka Global Advisors. I don't want to get all boring into the weeds with this shit, so you can go and read it all for yourself. But he partners up with Christopher Hines and John Kerry's stepson, Devin Archer.
another big politician here coming into the mix, huh?
So they do this whole thing, and this is where they start to work around in China. But I think Hines backs out because he doesn't like the risk. And there's some real speculation on what that meant. There was a lot of public scrutiny about this deal, yada, yada. 2012, Archer and Hunter, they get up with the Chinese equity fund with this guy named Jonathan Lee. This Lee guy is partnered up with this guy named Ho. Hunter Biden ends up trying to represent this guy, Ho, in this business dealing that they're doing. The guy comes to the United States,
my cousin,
fucking arrested and does 3 years in jail.
Oh, that's his name. Sorry.
It's ridiculous. So 2012, this whole thing blows up with this China thing where Hunter Biden's working directly in cahoots with China. Again, they're using China investors to go over to Ukraine to start this whole Burisma deal, which is where the whole facts of this case kind of blow out, like come out in this email thing. December 2013, so a year later, Biden flies to Beijing to meet with Xi Jinping, which is the president of China, and he takes some of the grandchildren, and then he meets this Lee guy in a hotel. So they go all the way halfway around the world. He meets with this president, and then he just makes this little introduction with Hunter and Lee, which is what kind of spirals this whole thing out. Obama finds out about it. He's not happy about it. And they talk about the perception.
Why isn't Obama happy about it? Just a perception issue?
Your son, because you are the vice president and your son is and works with this Chinese investment company, that you are taking money from this investment company and investing in Ukrainian deals to get Ukraine away from Russia. So very politically motivated dealings going on. And, oh, by the way, one of the big leading guys at this Chinese firm that you're working with gets arrested, and your son represents him. And your son hasn't been a lawyer since fucking law school in the early 90s.
Never practiced law. Really.
Loses. And this guy does 3 years. But now your dad, 1 year later, goes to China and meets with the business partner. So you can see how that doesn't look good, right? Even if it's just like, hey, Dad, here's my friend. Please come meet us at the coffee shop because I want to show my dad off, which is legitimate and reasonable, right? Like, Mike, when you come to town, I like to take you to special coffee shops and to things to say, here's my friend Mike. I don't think there's anything unreasonable
why you make
about
me do
that.
it with Ranger like panties on.
Yeah, and your shirt tied in a knot
silkies
with your belly.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand that part of it, but it makes me feel good.
I don't understand why you just go with it. Without any questions. I think that's funny, but
I trust you. I trust you.
So it's not appropriate. It doesn't look appropriate. It screams of corruption, that they're leveraging access for benefits using the Biden name and the vice presidency. And then, oh, by the way, if we want to talk about that, we could also talk about how young Obama gets into office and they put him with this guy who has already ran for president twice and lost and has many shady dealings and has been kind of called out for it in the Senate. And now they're going to pair old white guy with young, influential black guy. I think that's kind of funny if you read this story. That's just my perspective on the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's very funny. It was like the establishment says, oh, you've got this young black guy that's really energetic and really exciting. He's saying a lot of shit. He's saying a lot of things about change. Let's go ahead and get this established old white guy in here that's playing by all the rules and is kind of dabbling in some corruption.
This is the political parties kind of like it's at the nucleus of the reason for their existence, right? These aren't two separate independent men that came together over common principles, values, mission, and vision for the country from the executive branch side of things that decide to, shake hands and like, let's get after these issues. That's not how the president and vice president come together. It comes together because your political party decides this is the best for optics. This is the best for this reason, that reason. And the layers go as far as China. of meaning and reasoning behind all this, right?
Right.
So
it's taking tens of millions of dollars from Chinese investors. So why do you need to go to China to get your investors? Because you can't get them here. Is there not enough millionaire investors here? I don't know. I'll never understand. I'm not a politician.
At this point, as someone listening to you sort of unfold this, and as people who are listening to the show, how would you answer this question like right now?
And remember, we're talking about this is 2012.
So what, right? What is so this is true crime. So is any of this a crime at this point? Are we talking about any criminal behavior at this point outside of Hunter Biden admitting, maybe doing cocaine,
crack,
no, smoking crack,
no,
or whatever?
Nothing here is illegal.
Are there any
except that there are laws
things or legal parameters that he's breaking?
Yeah, technically yes. Yes, because you're not allowed to use nepotism. You're not allowed to use the president's name to and there's a bill that was passed for this. You can look that up, but every president has done it. And this is kind of my point. That goes back to that coffee shop theory, where it's like, what he's doing is, should you take a free latte? On paper, technically, no. But if everybody's doing it and nobody seems to care.
The cops can't accept gratuities. Oh, no, the coffee's on me, officer.
Right. Like, does every cop take free coffee? Technically, no. But does every single cop I do know cops that have turned down free coffee, and I think they're fucking dumb. If a citizen, I think it's more of a disrespect thing to say.
You throw the money in the tip jar.
You do. I do. That's exactly right.
Exactly.
But
that's how
I think it's
how
offensive.
I got around that is like,
but does the policy say that? No. And if they really wanted to hold you, and I like I say, like there's a Fox and CNN News of the police department, and the Fox News side was against you, or the CNN side was against you, and they knew that you were taking free coffee, would they not make this a salacious scandal? And then if the public really knew that every cop does this, it's not really a salacious scandal. And that's kind of what is happening here. Fox News is kind of biting on these smaller, like, oh, Hunter Biden's working directly with China and the Ukraine. And people are like, yeah, but the Bushes did way worse. Like, who gives a fuck? The Clintons kind of did way worse. Who gives a fuck? And at this point, it's kind of easy.
She can't give a box of Black Rifle coffee to the precincts. No, you can. They'll take it. Trust me.
They'll take it.
Done it a million times.
Technically,
use code Mike.
But everybody does it. So who gives a fuck? Yeah. You use that promo code Mike the Cop. No, if I can go ahead and hustle, baby, I'm all for it. So, not to get too off the subject here, but we're gonna fast forward to 2013. We're past 2013. That's when this whole Biden thing took place, where he went and met with the Chinese guy. Now we'll go to 2014. Archer, which is John Kerry's stepson, they go to Kyiv. Oh, whoa! I'm reading about Kyiv in 2014 articles. Which, by the way, that's exactly how real journalism works. I don't know. I'm a C student at best. I'm not a real journalist, but this is what I did. I read articles from 2014. I spent 10 days on this fucking show. But in 2014, I read an article about Archer flying to Kyiv to pitch investors on a real estate fund that he managed through Rosemont Realty, where he meets this guy named Zolochevsky. And he's the co-founder of Burisma.
Burisma.
All right. We've all heard the word Burisma. We might not know what it means. Burisma is the largest natural gas firm in Ukraine. And so they then try to convince, as they're starting to work with Zolokov, Zolokov had served as the ecology minister under a pro-Russian government. And that, because at this time, Ukraine was more like pro-Russia than pro-Ukraine. Does that make sense? Like the Ukrainian government was more.
Yeah, they've been fighting.
They've been
fighting about their identity for forever.
Right. So they were pretty much siding with Russian governments at this time. And there was a big protest in this exact time, 2013, 2014. And the Ukrainian parliament had voted to remove this Viktor Yanukovych guy, and they called for his arrest. But all this is going down while this Burisma thing is happening with Hunter Biden and Archer. So maybe coincidence, maybe not. But under the new Ukrainian government authorities in Kyiv, I'm reading this off of the New Yorker. I'll just read it verbatim here. Under the new Ukrainian government authorities in Kyiv, with the encouragement of the Obama administration, launched an investigation into whether Zolochevsky had used his cabinet position to grant exploration licenses that benefited Burisma. And so they're launching this investigation into Burisma. And then this is where the laptop comes into play. So let's just stop here and quickly get through all the way to the laptop. Now, let's fast forward to October 2019. In 2019, a laptop by Hunter Biden. Oh, and it's important to notice that in this time frame, Hunter Biden is going to go to rehab 3 more times. Okay. All right. So just to give you a quick thing, 2010, he has this massive relapse. 2013, this is a fun one too. Now, this is 2013 because that's where we're at right now. But in 2013, Hunter Biden decides to join the Navy. Did you know this?
No. Did he really?
So in 2013, he gets a direct commission where there are 6 slots available in the United States for a direct commission into public affairs. And Hunter gets one. Means he doesn't have to go to boot camp. Doesn't have to go to military academy. No, he gets right in to the Navy. And so he joins the Navy and is sworn in by his father. By his father in a private ceremony. Yeah. And then in 2014,
I just want to see Hunter in the little Navy outfit with a little scarf
hanging
down,
Throw a
smoking
picture
crack.
up there. There's this picture.
I want to see him smoking crack in the uniform.
So
let me ask you this: what branch of service was Bo in?
Bo, I don't know, but I know he served in Iraq. I think he was Army Reserves.
All right.
I think he was Army Reserves. You can fact check me on that. How did he die? He dies in
when?
2015. We're 2 years from him dying.
Okay. I'm
Almost there.
trying to place where we're at in relation to each other. The two.
This
brothers.
is funny.
Okay.
So remember, he's working already with Chinese investors. He's also working with Ukrainian deals. They've already kind of displaced the current president and had him arrested. Lots of political things are going on where lots and lots of money. At this time, Hunter Biden is being paid, I think, something like $30,000 a month.
Chump change, baby.
To go to 3 meetings.
That's
a
less
year.
than failure to stop money.
Yeah. So he's going to join the fucking Navy in 2013, and he gets a direct commission. I didn't even know that existed. I knew it existed for like doctors and dentists.
Motivation.
Like, hey, we need a fucking we need a doctor. You're a doctor. You don't need to go to boot camp because all you're going to do is fucking do surgery. But he gets into a public affairs unit, and on his first reserve weekend, because they're 1 weekend a month, he's on his way, and on his way there, he's really nervous. So he stops into a bar in DC to have a little shot ski.
little drinky poo.
Little hard AF seltzer, probably. Take the edge off.
Hunter would love hard AF, that 8%, baby.
A couple of guys are outside. And they say, man, you look stressed out. You need a cigarette? And he was like, I too. He takes a puff of the cigarette. Knows now that he's a little fucked up.
Realized that the cigarette was really a bunch of white rocks. Weird.
Yeah. So he gets pretty fucked up. He goes and confides in his brother, Bo. His brother, Bo, sobers him up, drops him off at the reserve center where they're like, we're going to do a drug test
on our newly commissioned officer.
And our guy that's on his first fucking day.
I mean,
and if you look at the totality of that story, I can see how it happened. He gets really fucked up. He goes to his brother. He can't be late. He's an officer in the military. He'll be AWOL. It's against the law. There's real responsibility when you're in the military.
Doesn't apply to him. It's a direct
They do their
mission.
best to try to sober him up. They get in the building and everybody's like, get the fuck out of here. This dude's high as shit. They do a drug test on him and he fails. And in 2014, he is other than honorably discharged from the military.
Not dishonorably, though.
No, other than honorable, which is normal, which is still just as bad. Like nobody.
It's like
really
when the
wants
new
to
guy
hire you.
starts the police department and he sucks, and they give him the ability to resign instead of be fired. Like you can resign or you can be fired. I'll resign.
I'll resign. So he gets an other than honorable discharge, which sucks. And he goes back to rehab, but he goes to a Tijuana rehab. Rehab in Tijuana.
Nothing to help you get over your crack addiction. Like
I don't know a lot about Tijuana because
prostitutes.
every time I've been there, I don't remember much of it, except I remember a sign in the square that said "Pussy, $5 here," and I thought, "Wow, we're talking about like petting kittens, like pussy cats for $5." Because I feel like if it's anything other than that, I'll save my $5.
Dropping off your bitch ass friends.
So I don't know about going to rehab, but then he gets into this whole yoga thing, which is great. 2015, another tragedy happens. His brother dies. His brother dies of cancer.
I'm assuming
they
that
find a brain
Hunter
tumor.
had a life insurance policy, probably from Policy Genius, that he took out on Bo in case this happened, right?
Let's hope he did.
I think he did. I'd like to think he did. If he loved his brother.
Am I reading this ad read or are you?
Oh yeah, no, it's my responsibility today, isn't it?
I can do it. It is important to have.
No. I'm so used to I'm so used to this. Let's see. I'll start with help your audience understand the value of insurance makes a big difference. I'm just going to read like what they tell us to say.
Why is it important to get life insurance?
If you have a
Because you
personal
never
anecdote
know.
to share on this topic, please do. I do have a personal anecdote to share. I've known people that have died and I haven't gotten shit from them, and that pisses me off. If somebody dies that I know, I want to be a benefactor in their life. So they should have had Policy Genius, bitches. That's what I had to say about the matter as a personal anecdote. People that I've known a lot of people that died and I haven't gotten shit. And I am sick of it. So what I want is people that I know, Sarah Kelch included, to make me the benefactor when they kick the can. I want a little kickback for the value I have added to your lives. I want every listener to go to policygenius.com/Wolfpack right now. Get your policy today and name me as 10% benefactor.
And this is why you need to get life insurance. Because if you're, if you are Beau Biden in this circumstance, his death came really quickly. Also, Joe Biden's wife died very quickly. I don't think they expected her to die in a car accident so early. I don't think they expected Beau Biden to get a brain tumor and die at 46 years old. And so that's it. You never know when you're gonna go. And if somebody relies on you financially, like a child, a parent, a business partner, life insurance gives you the peace of mind that they need to have a financial cushion if something is to happen to you. So why should you get covered? Typically, life insurance gets more expensive as you age. So it's smarter to get it while you're younger, especially if you're a cop. Dude, if you're gonna be a cop and you're not a cop yet, go ahead and get that life insurance now. It's a lot cheaper now because when you become a cop, it goes up, baby. If you're worried about a price, this is where Policy Genius comes in, because this is a one-step shop.
I think if I got killed in the line of duty, our department would have given Mrs. Mike the cop 40 grand. So she would have been covered. She would have been covered for my
for the ride over
for the year.
For the ride over.
Like, she'd have been eligible for my pension if I was vested at 10 years.
Policy Genius makes it easy to compare your options from top companies. Policy Genius can help you make sure that you're not paying a cent more than you have. It's basically kind of like when you buy a flight ticket. You can get on like those cheapflights.com and they give you all the rates so that you know you're getting the best rate. Look, the site is super easy. It's a one-stop shop. Find the insurance that you need at the right price.
$5.
Click the link in the description or head to policygenius.com/Wolfpack to get started. Look, I did the survey. It took like 5 minutes. Really easy to do. And I realized that I was paying more for life insurance than what Policy Genius could get me for a better rate. So for more money, I could pay less. I went with it. You could save 50% or more on life insurance by comparing quotes with Policy Genius. The licensing agents at Policy Genius are on hand through the entire process to help you understand your options and make decisions with confidence. The team works for you, not the insurance company. No extra fees. Don't sell your info to third parties. Thousands of 5-star reviews. Has options that cover as little as a week and avoid unnecessary medical exams. Policy Genius has helped over 30 million people shop for insurance and place over $150 billion in coverage. Go to policygenius.com/Wolfpack right now. Get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you can save. I was shocked. I think I got on my payment plan for about $17 a month. So much better than the 22 I was paying.
Policygenius.com/Wolfpack.
All right, let's go back. Let's wrap this thing up. Let's get into it.
Let's get into the laptop. Let's crack open the laptop, baby.
The brother dies. Him and Catherine are having real bad problems. They're going to couples therapy. He's hitting the vodka hard. She says at couples therapy, this is it, Hunter. If you do it again, if you get drunk. Oh, by the way, Ashley Madison had come out with an article that he was in Ashley Madison. Remember when they did the whole Ashley Madison leak? Remember when that was a big deal?
Yeah, everybody's accounts out. That's where like Josh Duggar got found out. Like a bunch of popular people or whatever got found out that they were on the site or whatever.
Well, Hunter Biden was more likely than not on the same list. Came out as Robert Biden. He never publicly admitted it. But as soon as that came out, they immediately went to couples therapy. She gives him an ultimatum, says, if you get drunk again, that's it. You're done. You're out. All right. This is right after his brother dies. And he's saying that my brother just died. I need to have a bender. And she's like, no, your benders are over, honey.
I need this. Gotta let me have
By
this.
the way, we didn't even touch on the stories of him wrecking rental cars and then finding crack in the rental cars and open up a drug investigation in Arizona. We didn't even cover any of that. So he's wrecked several rental cars on a LA bender of about a month where he just disappeared. And when he called his dad was like, God, I'm so glad you called. Whatever we need to do, let us know.
And his dad is the vice president at this time.
Dude, he went on this LA bender where there are so many witnesses that he goes into this homeless camp. They pull a gun on him. They don't believe him. They're like, dude, this is fucking Hunter Biden. And he's trying to buy crack out of our homeless. It was a tent. It was a tent camp. Ends up becoming really good friends with these homeless guys, does crack with them. Lots of shit, goes to this club, gets kicked out of this club. They say he's just a fucking...
You can find him in the club.
Blowing tons of money. And so now it's 2015. Ashley Madison thing's released. He's just had a terrible time after getting out of the military unhonorably. And he's going to couples therapy. She gives him the ultimatum. He fucks it up. He gets super drunk and she makes him move out. Now, this is what's really crazy about this whole story. She kicks him out. He, at the same time, goes to Norway for another Burisma meeting. He takes with him his dead brother's children, starts spending a lot of time with his dead brother's wife, Haley. He goes back to rehab under Haley's thing. Oh, by the way, because why he's with Haley.
What do you mean under Haley's thing?
So he's now dating Haley, his dead brother's wife.
Oh, wow.
And he's still married to Catherine. Technically, but they're separated.
Okay.
So he starts sleeping with Haley, but then at the same time, this woman in like Iowa or something, you can look it up. She comes out with a DNA test that shows that the child that she has is with Hunter Biden. So he's trying to smooth things over with Haley. So he goes back to another rehab where he goes to like some kind of yoga rehab in Arizona. Now it's becoming a thing that everybody knows that he's dating Haley. It's about to break the interweb. So he calls his dad and he said, this is a quote from Hunter Biden. I said, Dad, you have to, he said. Hunter, I don't know if I should, but I'll do whatever you want me to do. I said, Dad, if people find out, but they think you're not approving of this, it makes it seem wrong. The kids have to know, Dad, that there's nothing wrong with this. And the one person who can tell them that is you. A former Biden aide confirms this, and Biden agreed to
Where's
issue
this
a
quote
statement.
from?
This is from the New Yorker interview with Hunter Biden. A former Biden aide confirms this.
What
and
a terrible
says that,
way to paint his dad here. Okay.
The Biden agreed to issue a statement because of concerns about Hunter's well-being. Biden told the Post, the New York Post, we are all right, or this might be the Washington Post. We are all lucky that Hunter and Haley have found each other as they were putting their lives together again after such sadness. They have mine and Jill's full and complete support, and we are happy for them. The Post ran the statement under the headline, Beau Biden's widow having affair with his married brother.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know any of this.
This is in 2015 going into 2016.
Wow. Okay.
2016, he divorces Kathleen.
Now Biden didn't run in the 2016 election, right? Like he was dealing with the death of, it was like he
said
had too much
going
going
to,
on.
right?
Yeah. Like too much dealing with the death of his son, all that stuff, which I can empathize, that your son died, right? I mean, that's a human connection. I understand the humanity of this, but yeah.
So this is what we know as
Where
fact.
Does the
These are
laptop
the
come
facts.
in? And why does anyone care? Someone asked this, like 35, 40 minutes ago. Why should I care about Hunter Biden's laptop? So make me care about it. What does it matter?
Okay. I think in the grand scheme of things, what matters more than the laptop, and I've read every document that pertains to what was on that file. I've read not every, but I've read as many Reddit blogs, as many sources. Look, I found something new while I did this. The Indian news networks tell a complete different story of what's going on in Ukraine and Russia than we do in America. So in India, if you watch India news, it'll really make you question. So like, I got to go through this whole thing and kind of figure that out. But I've read lots of news sources and only have chosen to talk about today what is proven and what is factual and what is known. And for what is factual and not speculation and what is proved doesn't really seem to me all that damning, except that what's more damning about this information is the cover up by social media to then sway an election that we were all forced to think that Russia was swaying the elections and that there was Russia collusion. And I don't think it's fair to say in the 2016 election that there was Russia collusion, but then to have American media collusion and corruption in the 2020 election, that's corruption is corruption. I don't want Russia to corrupt any elections, but I also don't want my United States news media to corrupt and use propaganda.
Yeah,
and what comes out on this,
I think that well is poisoned. So it's like, how you drip a drip a little bit of poison in the well, the whole well needs to be shut up. It's over now.
Yes.
Like I don't trust mainstream media like whatsoever.
So I think that was probably the most reprehensible or the most damaging to the country is what happened as a result of the laptop information, not necessarily what was on the laptop. And I know people from the far right are going to be like, what about the child pornography? There's no proof of the child pornography. And I don't care what you want to speculate. You haven't seen the laptop. I'm not going to say what Rudy Giuliani said found on the laptop. I don't trust Rudy Giuliani at all.
Rudy Giuliani.
So, until I see their laptop, or until I hear from a very credible source on what was on that laptop, I'm not going to speculate. And the one person that I do trust in all of this, and I've chose to trust him from my own fruition, that's my own intuition, as I've chose to believe this guy named John Paul Pack Isaac, fucking weird name there. I love how they want to say that this is a Trump supporter. I don't know what a Trump supporter looks like. Is that somebody who voted for Trump, or I don't know, but they do say that John Paul Mac Isaac is a Trump supporter. I don't see overwhelming evidence that he is. He did go on, I do think Fox News definitely went after him hard and got him on the show to try to turn him, just like they did with Kyle Rittenhouse, to make him this kind of spokesperson for Fox News. But if you look at John Paul Isaac and you look at his mannerisms, if you see how he answers the questions, he argues with Hannity. He argues with, to the best that he can, with, what's the other guy's name? It's always on Fox News, Tucker Carlson. So he doesn't just cower down to these big, giant Fox News celebrities. He actually says, well, no. And Tucker Carlson goes hard on him. Like, did you see anything that could be of girls that are too young? These very leading questions that obviously would not be allowed to do in court. And John Isaac says, no, but they keep trying to no, but you didn't really know. It's like they want it to be their answer so bad. They want the evidence to match them so bad. But even this John Paul Mack, who is the one who was working at the computer shop when Hunter Biden drops this 3 damaged laptops off.
3.
And people say, well, how do you just lose a laptop? Well, this isn't his first time. He lost his wallet with FBI credentials in it on an airplane. That was a more big deal than not. He also left his...
You don't trust the crackhead that you pick up in your patrol car to be the epitome of honesty or intellectual integrity with remembering facts. So
right.
What you've done is demonstrated to me today that Hunter Biden is essentially a high-level crackhead. This is what's going on. He's a crackhead, and so to lose how do you lose a laptop? Well, because you're a crackhead.
Yeah. He also left his wallet with some FBI credentials, some high-level White House security credentials in it on an airplane.
He got hammered before he was supposed to do his job as a Navy special commission, direct commission.
Yeah. Then he leaves the same kind of credentials again in a rental car. Now, lucky for him, well, this is what led to that rental car thing, was that they found this wallet. They see it's Hunter Biden's wallet. They see that he has a press pass that he left dangling from the not press pass, but a White House security clearance pass dangling from the rental car's mirror. And he wrecks the car and leaves it. They pick it up. There's a crack pipe in it. There's Ziploc baggies with cocaine residue that tested positive for cocaine residue. There's this Washington media pass hanging from the fucking mirror. And then it's his wallet with all of his other credentials. And that's when the police get involved there. And then those charges all get dropped.
Strange.
So this laptop gets dropped off by Hunter Biden himself.
We're dancing the true crime line here. It's like, how does someone keep getting away with this?
Yeah, right.
So
then he
because didn't Joe Biden, wasn't he part of the responsible group of people in the Senate in the 90s that went after crack and crack dealers? That was the big deal, right?
Yeah.
The crime bill. And he went after you. He's
more
got some
black
really
people
choice
anybody
words.
Else in the history.
Yeah, he's got some really choice words for crack addicts on record on the Senate floor. So you go back and listen for yourselves. But fast forward to the mid 21st century as we know it, and maybe some things have changed.
So he drops this email. He drops this laptop off. Now the left is going to say that the man he dropped it off to is blind. He is in fact blind, but he can see up to 6 feet pretty well. And he works on computers for a living and owns his own computer repair shop. It's a very, like notably good, trusted laptop shop in Delaware. And so this guy's never had any problems before that. Those 3 laptops get dropped off to him, and I think it was like 2018. And he's working 2 of the laptops he spends a lot of time on at first, can never fix them. Now, my laptop from when I was in Afghanistan fucking had porn aids on it. My wife, for a wedding gift for our first Christmas together, she had that repaired. And I said, dude, I had no idea that computer could ever be repaired. And 2, probably you should know now, there was probably some really fucked up shit on that computer, because that was like, we were in Afghanistan sharing all sorts of weird fucked up porn, lots of weird fucked up videos. I mean, like people dying by like horses. And I mean, because this was like at the age, the YouTube wasn't out yet. This was like where you were downloading shit from like Napster and like Faces of Death. I mean, Live Leak. I mean, dude, you name it, it was on that computer. I mean, dude, we were sharing hard drives. And of course the computer died, and she was like, yeah, the guy said that it was a fucking train wreck. So I get that, like, his laptop had 10 years of data on it. Who knows what kind of fucked up shit, private shit that he does that he can explain or he can't explain. Obviously there's a hard line there.
How did it ever become public knowledge that this laptop
became public knowledge? Because when he started working on the 3rd laptop that was salvageable, you're obviously, as you're going through the files to see what's corrupted and what's not corrupted, because you have to find the corrupted files that are causing all the damage to the computer, as John Isaac puts it in many of his interviews. He's going through a lot of the files. And as he's going through the files, he starts to get concerned because he's seeing emails to big key players, recent emails about these Burisma deals that he just can't help but like go, what the fuck? As well as seeing him with hookers, with cocaine, with him masturbating. And we're putting these pictures up. These are known pictures from these images that he is with these whores and these hookers. There are, as he puts it, there are discussions that are completely inappropriate between him and other things. He doesn't say that they're illegal discussions, but he says they're highly inappropriate discussions. They're not shit that you would want on a government laptop that's just hanging out at a local repair shop. And when he starts to really get into the Burisma stuff, and he sees like this level of corruption where they are using code names for Joe Biden, but then he sees Joe Biden's real name in there. That's when he was like, I'm done. This is fucking nuts. I don't want this in my shop. I don't want this to be existed.
That's you at the skate park on that picture.
So he calls the authorities, and the authorities come and look at it, the police, local police, and they're like, oh, fuck this. They call the FBI. So the FBI
picked a more integrity-filled organization, the FBI.
So at this point, the New York Times knows that they have this story from this man in Delaware at a repair shop who says, I saw Hunter Biden drop off this laptop. I saw with my own eyes what was on the laptop. I'm telling you what's on that laptop because I saw it. And I gave it to these authorities, and those authorities say that they saw it, and then they turned it over to the FBI. And the New York Times, a publisher at the New York Times, decides he's going to run this story anonymously because he doesn't really know the credibility of this. We don't know if we can trust this John Paul Mac Isaac, but it is a story to be worth telling. And I think in the totality of it all, if you were to just run this the way it was, it might have gotten some traction. But then if the news medias would have said, well, who is this guy and is he credible? Who is this guy? We could have just had debates like we're always having, and it probably wouldn't have meant that much to the election. But no, what happens that's even crazier than anything is with this little bit of knowledge, and the only knowledge he puts out was that there was a deal between Ukraine and that the big man was getting 10%. That was the bombshell news. I don't necessarily know that that's bombshell news or not. Everybody's been fucking doing it. We weren't at war with Russia and Ukraine.
This makes its way into a presidential debate where like Trump is talking to Biden like, hey, I'm not the one that got $3 million. I'm not the one that is getting kickbacks from my son's business, you know, that kind of a thing.
Yes. And so with this little bit of information, which it can be a smoking gun, but the problem was, if you really want to look at all the facts, what the problem was is that the Trump train was out of control and nobody was going to stop it. And that this little bit more of information about this so-called smoking gun was just going to end it all for Biden and the media's belief. And if you remember going up, all the polls showed Trump fucking crushing this. And that's why everybody was shocked by this whole election thing. So the smoking gun was not so much what was on the laptop, but what happens to follow, which is where social media bans the New York Times from Twitter. They're like, nope, you're gone.
The New York Times, the New York Post.
I mean, the New York Post. And then it's the New York Times.
No, there's no way the Times got banned off Twitter.
Am I right there too? It's been 2 hours of fucking talking here. Let me go back.
No, I think they did.
The New York Times.
The New York Times. Yeah, come on.
Let's. I mean, as New York, just New York someone Post. Hearing this.
Was it New York Post?
New York Post.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah,
that makes more sense.
Yeah,
the Post tends to be more.
Twitter says blocking the New York Times account was an error. That was a while ago, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Different.
So they block the New York Post. Sorry. Then they block. There's a series of other names that they blocked that shared. That simply all they did was share the New York Times Post. Now I got my first 24-hour ban on Facebook because I shared the picture of Hunter Biden with the crack pipe in his mouth. And the reason I got blocked for 24 hours on Facebook was because of using I forgot how they worded it. It wasn't fake things, but it was basically like you can't dox somebody, and that this was their consideration of this guy was doxed. It was his private pictures that were released to the internet, and they're putting a stop to that, which had never been done. That was unprecedented. They had never done this in any other scenario and any other situation until now.
Yeah.
Until this. Out of all the salacious things that had come out about Trump, about the Bushes, about the Clintons, about anybody since the existence of social media and the internet, they had never, ever gone through this unprecedented length of squashing this information. Back in the old days when you didn't have the internet, certain tabloids could just not post it. So, like if the National Enquirer posted a story that said, Mike the cop arrested 16 Asian people because he hates Asians, breaking news, a store could say, I'm just probably not going to carry the National Enquirer, or I'm going to carry the National Enquirer. It wasn't that all the stores were banned from carrying the National Enquirer. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
If it was a story that the New York Times didn't like or the Washington Post didn't like, they couldn't just dictate that the Jiffy Mart couldn't carry that tabloid, whether it be fake or not. And we all remember the National Enquirer was often very fake and salacious, right?
Still is.
But
it's still in existence, I think.
Yeah. But now with the internet, who's fucking looking at the Enquirer?
Wolf baby found.
Yeah, Wolf baby found. But it doesn't stop Food Lion and Lowe's Foods from carrying the magazine. They can carry it if they want to. Right. But in this time where we've gone into internet, the internet has now deemed, no, you are too stupid as a nation or as a people to understand what is fake and what is not.
Trust us to tell you what's true and not.
And not only are we going to do that, but we're going to come out and say right off of the bat, without any knowledge, we're not only are we going to squash this, but we're going to call this Isaac guy a Russia colluder.
Yeah.
And then they're going to show some of the emails where Tony Bobulinski, and I don't want to get too far into this, but if you look up Tony Bobulinski, he's a Democrat, and he worked with Joe Biden, Jimmy Biden, and Hunter Biden for many, many years in Ukraine over the Burisma deals. And he's voted Democrat. He, for the last 10 or 15 years, he has donated to every Democratic election that he's been close to. $2,500 here, $1,700 here, $2,900 here. He's a Navy guy. He was a wrestler in college. He worked at he had a high level security clearance and worked in the Navy nuclear power program. And so these emails get leaked, and he says he's trying to cover his own ass because he's getting sued for fuck tons of money from other CEOs. So he doesn't want any part of this. And he says, yes, that email is correct. And then everybody came back out and says, he's a Russian colluder. He's a collusion. He's colluding with Russia. He's a Russian intel asset. So, which now we have proved, or now that it has come out, that these emails are in fact real, that the the laptop is real. Those are fact. These pictures of him doing cocaine are real. There's no truth of pedophilia in there. And there is this guy Bobolinsky says that he goes through the email and he says, yes, the big man is Joe Biden, JB is Jimmy Biden, and if it says H, it's Hunter Biden. So that's his word. Now, that's what's all going, and the Delaware has there's an indictment going on with these rulings and everything. But the fact of the matter is whose responsibility is it to determine what is fake news and what is not? And if you look at the totality of this circumstance, Fox News gave out a lot of news that wasn't real, but CNN said none of it was real, and that's not true either. Yeah. And is it their business? I would say that Twitter and Facebook deliberately swayed an election. And we were all very upset at the thought of Russia swaying election in 2016, but we're almost okay with Facebook and Twitter. And it's something we need to look at as a people.
Well,
as a society.
With what this laptop has become sort of like this watershed example of hypocrisy. We watched our government and media colluding with them, both mainstream and social media corporations colluding with our government at high levels to control the flow of information in a way that propagandize things. That is exactly what we are saying Russia does, right? Which I'm sure Russia does, because we've had Hannity on the show talking about the skill of Russian disinformation, but we've also talked on our show about disinformation campaigns of the CIA. You know, like there's all sorts of, we are the masters. You talk about it on yesterday's last call, this Rand Paul talking about his idea that we're the masters. The American government is the master of misinformation. Why all of a sudden are we supposed to trust them? It's very, very hard for the average citizen hearing news to really discern just about anything. You had to take 10 days of your life to try to go to Indian media and other sources of information to try to just whittle this down to go, okay, what do we really know? What can we actually say is factual about Hunter Biden and about this laptop? What can we actually say is fact? And that took a lot of work to just.
And why shouldn't that just be the way the journalist is? I didn't do this with emotion. I'm not saying, and frankly, had it not been for social media banning it, I'm not sure the news would have swayed the election. Because not until now that you see this Ukraine war, I think that's more important now, is that you had Joe Biden who said, if you don't fire this guy, if you don't get rid of this guy, who was the lead investigator in the Burisma deal, then they were going to lose lots of money. And then now all of a sudden, Ukraine's getting tons of money. This guy's fired, and now we're at war with Russia. I think that the bigger story here is, how come this Ukrainian thing started with Hunter Biden and this Burisma deal so many years ago, over tens and tens of millions of dollars, that has now led to a war. And I think we should be able to, as a society, have had the facts from the beginning, so where we can have an adult conversation and a reasonable conversation of what is really going on in Ukraine, and stop saying Russian collusion and Russian disinformation. You can't pawn everything off on Russia collusion and Russian disinformation and just be done with it. And you shouldn't, Barry. Do you know how hard it is to find the Navy records for Joe Biden? I mean, for Hunter Biden, it's absolutely ridiculous. It should not be that hard. It's not that hard for anybody else to find their records. So here's another quick clip of Joe Biden. And this is why I think that this laptop is important today.
I guess the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv.
Oh, by the way, pause this really fast. We're going to put the link to this video of where this video is. This video is like an hour long, 2 hours long in its totality?
Yeah, it's long.
This was taken like in 2017, I believe.
Where is this? Yeah. I can't read
it's at like a summit. It's like at a European summit meeting.
Yeah, Council of Foreign Relations.
If you watch this for fucking 30, 45 minutes, Hunter Biden is absolutely genius. He very well spoken. He has a high IQ of what is going on. He knows everything about the
Hunter?
thing.
Is he in this?
No, I'm sorry, Joe.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. Joe Biden presents these facts very well in this story and is a great salesman, but there is no confusion. He uses big words. He is dude, he does better in the 2 hours on this video than I've done on this podcast.
If you watch him talk in his heyday in front of Congress,
he's fantastic.
He really is fantastic.
He knows everybody's names, first and last. He knows their positions. He knows their correct titles. My wife caught me listening to this a couple of days ago, and she said, "Who is that?" I said, "Joe Biden." She's like, "No fucking way." I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Dude, that's not Joe Biden." I was like, "Dude, that is Joe Biden. Like, he's on his game." She was like, "Dude, he is very well articulated, and it makes total complete sense of what he's saying."
Right.
So anyway, go ahead and play this quick clip of this interview.
This is ultimately the same thing that Trump was impeached for, which was basically trying to sway a government to do something at your bidding based on funding.
Yes.
Yep. And this is the big video. And this video again was like in 2017. So
another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, "No," I said, "I'm not going to, we're not going to give you the $1 billion." They said, "You have no authority. You're not the president." The president said. I said, "Call him." I said, "I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion." I said, "You're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here." And I think it was 6 hours. I said, "I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money." That son of a bitch got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
Wow.
So he's influencing foreign governments while profiting from his son's financial arrangements in said government. And that is you're right. That's exactly what Trump was impeached for, was this idea that he was saying, "Hey, if you don't do X, Y, or Z, then I don't."
What Trump said is, if you don't give me the information on Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, then there'll be repercussions.
Right. Yes. Wow.
But it all comes back to Ukraine. And that's such a powerful statement. I think it's worth playing one more time. I think everybody should listen to this. If you're in your car, listen to it. You don't have to rewind it. We're just going to play it again for you.
Over, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, "No," I said, "I'm not going to, we're not going to give you the $1 billion." They said, "You have no authority. You're not the president." The president said. I said, "Call him." I said, "I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion." I said, "You're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here." And I think it was 6 hours. I said, "I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money." Well, son of a bitch.
If the prosecutor...
And they put in place someone who was solid.
If the prosecutor is not fired, which that prosecutor allegedly was looking into this Burisma deal.
And Burisma turned out to be extremely corrupt.
Yeah. Well, the Ukrainian government is notoriously corrupt. Like, I mean, shocker, shocker.
Yep. And that to me is the totality of the circumstance. I think it's up to the American people to say whether you think it's a bad deal. Now, if you're a Biden fan, you're going to say, well, it's not a big deal. Everybody's done it. This is just politics playing back and forth. If you're a Trump fan, you said this is a smoking gun. If you're a reasonable person that knows the totality of the story and you really are looking at it objectively, what you would say is, yeah, this is just shithouse politics. But at the same time, why don't we, the people, get to have a say in this extreme corruption and make rules that your family members cannot get involved in Saudi Arabian oil deals if you're a Trump kid. And it can't happen. It's like a priesthood. It's like, you've gone into priesthood, man. You don't get to have stocks. You don't get to have bonds, and your kids are going to suffer for this. If you really want to help the country, if it's a real selfless sacrifice, then it's sacrifice. Your kids will never be rich. Your family name will never be rich.
There's no politicians left. If there's no money,
I'm fine with that.
And I'm fine with that too. I'm totally fine with that as well.
Do I think it was overall the smoking gun? No. Do I think it would have swayed the election? I have my own personal beliefs about the way the election was going and what happened during the election. But I think overall, I don't think it would. I think the biggest question that we can all do something about and answer is who holds our freedom of information? Is it us? Do we get to have our own freedom of information? Is it the state of Florida that determines what your education is? Is it the federal government? Is it Twitter? Is it all of the above? I say it's your responsibility, and you can, and the state can regulate it. The government can regulate it. It's tell you what kind of books you have to read. But at the end of the day, it is your responsibility, not Facebook's, not Twitter's, to find the truth objectively, reasonably, honestly. That is your responsibility. And if you choose not to look at the facts, if you choose to just watch the news and take what they're saying on Fox News and regurgitate it without taking the time to learn the history of those, it's just like a fine wine. I tell everybody, if you really want to know wine, spend 10 minutes researching the bottle of wine that you hold in your hand before you take a sip of it. If the bottle says Cabernet Sauvignon, Google what a Cabernet Sauvignon is. If it says Paso Robles, California, Google what Paso Robles, California is and what it looks like on the map. If the word terroir pops up on the back of the bottle, Google what does terroir mean. Spend 10 minutes with that bottle of wine and you'll never forget that bottle of wine, and you'll know more about that bottle of wine than one person should. And that should go with your politics. If you're going to do that with wine, there's no reason you shouldn't be doing it with the people you're going to fucking vote for. And that goes with anyone.
Dang. That's what we know. What do you guys think? What do you think is important to know or understand about this? What would you add? What would you take away? What did you love? What did you hate? We want to hear from you guys in the comments that stuck around to the end of this thing. Dude, thanks for putting the work in on this. That was
Mindy Joe Nigger says, let's research the amount of arsenic inside your bottle of wine. Do all of your research instead of just headline salacious outlines of what arsenic in your wine really means. And then we'll talk.
Boom.
And what happened to those companies that had those California wineries that had a gross amount of arsenic in their wine. But
boom.
If you haven't left a comment, a review. Sorry.
If you,
I do
you're
love
still
you,
watching,
Joe,
195 people
wine,
watching.
so.
Hit the like button on this episode and share it if you will, wherever you can share it to or want to share it to. We appreciate it. But hitting the like button helps tell YouTube people are watching this, people like it, and it'll recommend it to more people. We appreciate it.
Mindy, I sounded like an asshole. I that's just the way I come across. But yes, it is fun to make your own wine, and that is a great hobby. And I totally
Jeremiah was a bullfrog.
Man, what a fun show. I hope that this was okay. It was a very different show than we're used to, but I think with everything coming in, and I think with the war in Ukraine and with everybody's opinions, I don't think there's anybody out there in one spot that has given like more of like a totality of an experience, like the totality of the situation than we have. So I saved you tens of hours of research into 2 hours and 3 minutes.
That's what we're doing every Friday. We're breaking stuff down that we think is relevant and interesting to people, and we do it in our own way. There is no other true crime podcast that is like this. So here we are, just trying to two trans men making our way through the podcast world.
Brian, hey, was I good on my math there this time, Brian Wilson? You son of a bitch. Tyler Durden, everyone is lying. I agree with you. I won't read the rest of it. Christine Shokan, who the fuck cares about Hunter Biden's laptop? Certainly don't care. What I care about is the shit arse
Republic
psycho fan. Obviously didn't watch the episode. So
yeah, clearly didn't listen to
if anything, Christine, this would have made you have a little bit more empathy to obviously you just didn't read it. So that shows, or you didn't watch the show. That shows your absolute
This is me
ignorance.
responding to Mindy.
Yeah, that's Mindy is Christine. Slick Montana,
Sorry.
two trans men docking. There's nothing wrong with that. We don't kink shame on this podcast. Sarah Kelch, stop commenting, you pervert. Anyway, love you guys. Guns up, giddy up. We'll see you guys.
We can't stop. We won't stop, and neither will you. See you next week.